come in at 5 o'clock in the morning and shut that place down. The following week, the lines were still down the block and around the corner, and the place was packed to the rafters.
I'm getting out of my taxi, and there's a line wrapped around the building, and I thought to myself, oh shit.
Police who constantly were oppressing gay clubs, and especially our club, which was a combination of white, black, and Hispanic gay men, so they really had us on their radar.
Soundfactory also, I believe, was a church to many people.
I would notice that, the crowd would stay later and later because the music was fantastic.
House music was really coming into its own.
His feel for what people want to hear. He feeds the crowd, you know what I mean? And he also controls it.
Soundfactory is an experience.
Friday, Saturday nights, packed to the rafters. Event nights, those nights were just incredible.
It gave me a freedom to be an artist and to create this amazing underground Broadway.
I saw music bringing an entire club together.
The DJ, the music, the way we treated the customers turned the Soundfactory into the legend.
It was the first time I had kind of seen the marriage of all types, of all genders, of all, races, of all creeds, of all ideals.
Because Soundfactory was the most prominent nightclub in the city and probably in the country, that they wanted to use Soundfactory as the poster child for this drug crackdown.
Controversy over raves back in the news.
Much of the political backlash against raves began in 2002 when then-Senator Joe Biden proposed the Reducing Americans' Vulnerability to Ecstasy Act, or the RAVE Act, which he attached to a popular bill targeting child abduction.
Yes, and we're very sad that the Soundfactory closed.
Everything seemed like the police department had prepared this whole event for the press, theatrically done for the cameras. I was crucified by the newspapers. Hugely humiliating, but beyond that, it wasn't real to me. All I remember is being naked. There I was put for the first time in my life into a cell and lock you up, theoretically, for the rest of your life. We're talking about mandatory 20-year sentences for each felony count, so you're talking about me facing 100 years in prison. And I'm 62 years old. If I'm found guilty, I'm going to end up dying in a prison.
And then one day on April of 2004, I get this letter from Richard Grant from Park Row, from prison. And he says, "Pray for me, have a plan, and hope to carry on to the day when my and Soundfactory's name and reputation have been vindicated. I want you to be the one to tell my story."
I was born July 25th, 1942, originally from Canada. I was born just outside of Toronto, and that's where I grew up. An introverted child, a quiet child, a big reader. Finally, I fell in love when I was 13 years old. The boy's name was Wayne Dennis. I was 13, he was 17. He was extremely attractive. He was a high school jock. What happened was he walked over. I was on the other side of a chain link fence. He reached up and his hand touched my hand. Things happened between us that I had never dreamt of. We had a secret place where we went and made love to each other. That was in a small forest that wasn't far from where I lived. One day, he just disappeared. And then eventually, one day, I found out that he had died. And I was totally devastated. My mother would use terminology like, "Why are you so different from the rest of my children?" Being able to be who I was and what I wanted to be, that kind of pressure started getting to me. So I decided to pack up my things and head to New York and start my life out all over again in New York City. I can't even explain how I felt when that bus pulled into New York City and I saw New York skyline for the first time. The hair on the back of my neck would stand up. I would get goosebumps because that's how much I was in love with the city.
All lies and jest, still a man hears what he wants to hear and disregards the rest.
I was given the ceremonial courtroom. Other people like Martha Stewart, the Rosenbergs, all these high-profile cases were tried in the ceremonial courtroom. And here's this little 62-year-old guy, a club owner, a Canadian, a gay man. All of a sudden, he's sitting in the middle of the ceremonial courtroom.
I spent a lifetime fighting for people who have been pushed around by either corporations or the system, and by giving people a voice so that they can be heard.
And when she said to me, Mr. Grant, my name is Camille Abadi, and she was going to represent me. It's all a matter of win or lose. And that's what my case was about. The date was set for the trial, and the trial began. Felt like somebody was looking at me. So I turned to look, and I see this man, the most beautiful man I've ever known in my entire life. Introduced ourselves, and we spent that entire day together. And I fell so in love with him. And we stayed there until the sun started going down. We made love on the beach. But as it turned out, he was born in the Bronx. He was raised in the Bronx. He was a child of the Bronx. Michael was very special in so many different ways, and promised to be with each other for the rest of our lives. We were very much in love. AIDS was everywhere. Michael continued in his free lifestyle, continued, sexually to be very active with a lot of different people, until one day he came home early from work, and he told me he was moving out, he was leaving. And I knew he needed me. And one day the telephone rings, I pick up the phone, and it's Michael. He told me the devastating news that he had AIDS. We became totally immersed in one another again. They were terrified. They didn't know what the disease was, where it came from, how people contracted the disease. They had no medications to fight it. Once you were diagnosed, it was just a downhill slide into the grave. He only lived for a year after that telephone call. I was there when he died. That was the end.
Let's dance in style, let's dance for a while. Heaven can wait, we're only watching the skies. Hoping for the best, but expecting the worst. Are you gonna drop the bomb or not? Let us die young or let us live forever. We don't have the power, but we never say never. Sitting in a sandpit, life is a short trip. The music's for the sad man.
And Richard decides that he wants to write the story, on his own. And he goes through this whole catharsis of letting everything out of what happened to him. So I want to make sure you know that this movie is not a club movie. This movie is not a courtroom drama. This movie is not only a personal story. And the great thing about this whole process is how Richard was able to open up and come back to life via telling the world his story. Soundfactory is my home.